entire rant, you've had my name at the bottom of the screen.
Steve Weintraub, racist.
I so don't endorse when you just ranted about The Help. I'm like, okay, the movie's good, but it's not the best film of the year at all. There's no way.
Oh, I thought it was a beautiful tone of balance between the heaviness and beautifully spattered in moments of humor. When I came out, I saw that movie on the Disney lot, Steve, and I remember when I came out, I tweeted on my phone, and it was still under heavy embargo, obviously, so I couldn't tell people what movie it was. But I was so enraptured with it. I tweeted on my phone the moment I came out, I just saw a movie that exemplifies why I love the movies. And that was my reaction to it. But anyway, for you, Steve, you said it was like either Midnight in Paris or what was the other one you were mentioning?
I said The Descendants. I mean, like,
here's
the thing, though. Like, for me, there were a lot of really great films this year. I love Drive. I mean, I just love that film. Yeah. I saw Hugo again, and I loved Hugo even more the second time. I love The Descendants. You know, I really enjoyed The Artist. I like, a lot of people are just blown away by it. I'm not blown away by it. I think it's a great movie, but it's not like, oh my God, me screaming to people they have to go see it. But it's really good. But as I said, there's just a lot of great films this year. The Help never transcended for me to the place where it got for you, where you clearly loved the movie, and that's great. But it never reached that point for me.
Right.
Like, I thought it was really good, but if I have a choice, I mean, I'm going to go see Drive, for the 5th time before I see The Help again.
John, did you cry at the end of The Help?
I have only ever cried. This is true. I've only ever cried. Pardon me, guys. You have to forgive me. I got a bit of a cough. I'll take one of my good friends, Mike's Hard Punch, and some Halls to wash the pain away. I've cried in 3 movies in my life.
All right.
3 movies.
Okay.
I cried at the end of Life is Beautiful, where if you don't cry at the end of that film, I'm thinking there's something, you got to have some kind of medical problem.
Life is Beautiful, the Roberto
Benigni film, right?
Okay.
Where he convinces his son that the World War II and the extermination of the Jewish people was all just a game to keep his the ending of that film gets me all choked up. The second one is really an odd one, and that we're going off on a bit of a rabbit trail here. My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts.
What?
I know. Oh I know. But hear me out.
Wow.
Hear me out. Okay, don't judge me. Hear me out. The thing about My Best Friend's Wedding was the things that really get me emotional in a film is not romantic things. It's nothing like that.
Right.
But really extreme examples of faithfulness and friendship. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. To me, friendship is a great.
So you cried at the end of The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings?
No, I didn't. I did get a little bit choked up, I think. But at the end of My Best Friend's Wedding, when she's completely destroyed, the guy she wanted to marry ends up marrying somebody else. He's running off with Cameron Diaz, and then Rupert, Rupert, the gay character, shows up. She's on the phone with him, and then she realizes he traveled across the country to be there for her. I broke down. I'm not ashamed to tell you. Fuck you for laughing at me. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Wait, John.
Yes.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because George looked at the camera.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
I cried at the end of The Sandlot, and I cried at the end of Macking Me, and I cried at the end of The Muppet.
See, it's this kind of bullshit that stops men from being real about their emotional side, because assholes like you two.
You're the one that chicken walked, motherfucker. You're the one that went off on your. Okay, what was the third movie?
The third movie that I cried at.
Because I haven't laughed enough so far. So what was the
third? Shit. You know what? Now I can't remember what the third one was. My Best Friend's Wedding is the one that's out in left field that it catches everyone off guard. But now I can't remember what the third one was. Shit. You know, for any of you who are watching this online, who have followed me for any period of time, I know I've mentioned numbers of times the films I've cried at. No, but I should have.
Green Mile?
No, nothing like that. So if any of you can remember what I used to say was the ones I used to cry at, please let me know.
Nothing like that? Nothing like with real emotion at the end? Unlike My Best Friend's Wedding.
Shut the fuck up. But look, we can move on but before we move on from the Golden Globe stuff, anything else jump out at you about the award besides the incredible disappointment that was Ricky Gervais? What about you, Steve?
I already with the award show tonight.
Yeah. Anything else to stand out that we haven't covered already?
Yeah, I'll tell you what fucking pissed me off. Actually,
Okay.
Where was the Muppets? Like, where was that song for the Muppets? Like this Madonna? Are you fucking kidding me? That's outrageous, especially with that Kermit song.
Visions in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
That song. That's a beautiful, beautiful song.
Yeah.
Wait, ready? That song made me cry in the theater.
I'm into that. I buy that.
Yeah, I absolutely. That's one of my favorite songs I've heard in a movie in years. And Madonna can go fuck herself because she didn't deserve it, and some of the other songs don't deserve it. Listen, I like Elton John, but his song not better than the Muppets.
No, that Muppet song was something really, really special. George,
John,
what about you?
They're asking in the chat room here if it's Toy Story 3.
Oh, thank God, thank you. Yes, Toy Story 3. I got choked
because
up.
somebody else suggested The Land Before Time, and I wasn't quite sure. It might have been that too.
No, that scene in Toy Story 3. You know, because we followed the Toy Story films, but that scene in Toy Story 3 when they're spoiler alert, when they're in the garbage stuff and they're all heading down towards the furnace, and they all grab hands.
Yeah.
For one moment, this is why Toy Story 3 was so brilliant. But for one moment, all my emotional connection and investment and all the Toy Story films came flooding in at once. It was a beautifully designed scene. So anyway, yeah.
For me, the scene that got me in that movie was at the very end, when it represents, letting go of the things you've held on to for your entire childhood.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
And moving on. I think that's the scene that got most people.
I think you're absolutely right.
I actually would have kind of enjoyed watching the little melted wax. And
and for me, anything else that we haven't covered already as far as the Golden Globes go?
Who was the hottest? Who was the hottest? That's what I want to talk about.
Oh, who was
hottest
the
chick
hottest
at the Golden Globes?
At the Golden Globes,
it's very important.
That's a good question. I'm always going to go. I'll interject and say, Sophia, what's her name? The girl.
Sophia Vergara.
Modern Family.
Yeah, she was hot.
Yeah,
Selma Hayek looked hot.
Great.
Selma Hayek looked great.
Kate Beckinsale looked good.
Oh gosh, did she ever?
I don't know what Jennifer Beal was wearing. I don't know what fucking she stole a tablecloth from somewhere.
She didn't get on stage, and I know you. I don't think you like her. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Rooney Mara, I thought looked elegant and beautiful and gorgeous.
They only showed like brief shots of her.
Of her, yes. I just saw her face and the top part of her dress. I didn't see her full outfit, but she looked staggeringly attractive.
Angelina Jolie though looked. I mean,
what did my friend Ryan say? Okay, for those of you who didn't see it, Angelina,
what, like 100 pounds?
If that. But remember, our friend Ryan was downstairs watching the show with us, and Angelina Jolie comes out, and she's like gliding. Hold on, I'm going to put myself on full screen here so you can see. She's gliding out, and my buddy Ryan goes, she looks like one of those race of people from the Star Wars prequels that built the clones. You know those 8-foot tall, super skinny, bony, lanky creatures? And I just laughed because it's like, holy crap, that's exactly what she looks like.
Yeah.
I couldn't... Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, one thing I have to point out, like Ricky Gervais, as we were talking about earlier, being just very tame, I want to give props to Seth Rogen for...
great moment.
What he said with Kate Beckinsale next to him on stage, where he made a comment about having an erection. And, I mean, that takes balls to do that when the person is right next to you. And you can tell it was unscripted because she just looked mortified, but was also laughing.
You know what's funny? You mentioned that the two best jokes on there were not from Gervais. They were from Clooney and from Seth Rogen. The dick jokes.
Yeah, which were funny. But and I'll say this, if Kate Beckinsale didn't know that Seth Rogen was going to say it, like if that truly was unscripted, like what Steve is suggesting, it was fantastic. If it was scripted, Kate Beckinsale deserves an Oscar just for her performance in convincing us it wasn't scripted.
No, I'm with Steve. I don't think.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't think it was scripted.
There's no way. I'll tell you how that's not. How I know that's not scripted, because her publicist or manager or somebody in her team would have put the kibosh on that joke instantly. Like, you're not allowed to say that when there's no way. And you could just see her reaction in her face, like, believe that was said, you know? But something, this is going to sound stupid. I just interviewed her for Underworld, and she is so calm and cool and willing to pretty much say or do anything. Like, she's great. I don't know.
She was really good in Contraband. Did you see Contraband, Steve?
I did.
Yeah, she was good in that too.
She's good, but I guess I'm the only one who didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I didn't think Contraband was all that. I think that the most I'd give it is a C.
Oh.
I thought that a lot of it was just average. And I really like Mark Wahlberg movies, but apparently I'm in the minority because everyone else really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I heard George say it gave him an erection. I mean, I can't prove that.
Only the Wahlberg parts.
The Wahlberg parts.
Only the Wahlberg parts.
All right, let's move on from the Golden Globes here, and I'll talk about this. I want to get to Hunger Games stuff here in a second, but I want to touch on this just for a moment. My wife has really been wanting to go see Beauty and the Beast, since it's been re-released in theaters. And it's not just her. I've wanted to see it too. I remember loving that film.
Sure.
Granted, it's been a while since I've really sat and watched it, but it's probably been a good 6 or 7 years since I've seen it. So off we go this morning. We got up early. I wanted to watch some football, so we went early in the morning to watch a screening of it. And the movie was over, and I laughed through it, and I caught myself singing songs through it. But the movie was over, and my wife looked over at me, and I just kind of got this look on my face. And she's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "It's a little bit depressing." She said, "What's depressing?" I said, "I know I will not see a better film than this for the entire rest of 2012.
Animated film?
Any film. That movie, Beauty and the Beast, is basically hardcore perfection. That movie's perfection. You can't make a movie better than they make. You make very different kinds of movies. There's different kinds of greatness. Absolutely guaranteed. I'm not saying
it was
otherwise.
The reason why they created that whole separate category, animated category, because it lost to Silence of the Lambs, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, it was the first animated film in history with straight up when there were 5 nominees. The first animated film in history that got nominated for Best Picture. And I'm sitting here watching this film, and I'm blown away by in less than an hour and a half. I think it's an hour and 28 minutes is the official running time on it. They populate this movie with such rich characters, incredible and memorable musical numbers. You don't get that in any of these movies anymore. I couldn't tell you I love Tangled. I couldn't tell you a single song from it. Mm-hmm. I can tell you every fucking song from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
I think, John, you should start singing for us. Be our guest.
Here's the thing.
It's no wonder that her name means beauty. And that's all you're going to get. I am clearly drinking, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm curious, though, why you saw it in 2D.
Why did you see it in 2D?
Because that's the whole reason for this re-release. Is because actually, and believe me, I am not a fan of 3D at all. But the 3D transfer in this, the 4 and 5 different planes of depth that they have, it's pretty incredible looking. Like you really should have seen it in 3D.
You blew it.
Well, here's look, for anybody who has followed me for any period of time, you know this. 3D is a gimmicky pile of useless shit. And 5 minutes into any 3D film, Avatar included, I would just want to take the glasses off and watch the movie. The 3D, for me, I was tricked for a short time into thinking maybe Avatar is the one exception to this rule. But then I watched it on an HD TV in 2D, and I didn't lose 1 ounce of my viewing experience for it. To me, and I'm not taking anything away from other people who have different opinions, and 3D hits them a little bit differently than it hits me. All 3D, all of it, and I am purposely painting in a broad stroke, is a useless, gimmicky pile of shit that the public has said over and over again for decades, we don't really want it. But the technology companies, the entertainment companies need new avenues to take money out of our wallets, and they push it on us like crazy. We saw in 2011, the percentage of people who bought tickets to 3D movies as opposed to their 2D counterparts went down. I'm talking proportionally. I'm not talking total numbers because I understand there was less 3D screens in 2011 than there were in 2010. The proportionate number of people have gone down. I hate all 3D. I just want to take the glasses off. Show me the movie. That's just my opinion. So for that case, and my wife feels the same way, which is one of the reasons she's awesome. For that reason, I did not want to see it in 3D. I wanted to see it as it was intended. And it's
now
true.
At OfficeDepot.com, here's a product that'll go a long way towards improving
you guys hearing
your
this
productivity.
Office Depot thing?
Just click on screen to buy it today and enjoy the best value in online shopping. So go with Office Depot and click here for
I'm sorry about
price.
that. That's an ad playing on our Ustream. Coming through my speakers. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I needed to be reminded to go to Office Depot anyway.
And so for me, when I wanted to see the movie in its true, bright, vivid, full, rich color and brightness the way it was originally screened. I don't want to put tinted film over my eyes when I watch a film. I don't want my brain to have to recalculate certain things, that the glasses fool my eyes into thinking. I don't want that shit. I remember, George, you and I were in the same theater, I believe, when Paramount screened Thor for us. We were both at Paramount when they screened Thor.
Oh, yeah. Wait. I gotta put a pause.
All right.
Thor is fucking crap in 3D. Let's not even discuss this. But I'm gonna say to you, I basically agree with you. I think 3D is a gimmick, and I think that for the most part, it's a complete waste of time. But there are exceptions to the rule, like Hugo. Hugo is amazing in 3D.
Coraline.
Wait, what'd you say?
Coraline.
Oh, Coraline, exactly. Amazing in 3D. There are certain films that were made in 3D that deserve to be seen in 3D. I mean, like Pirates of the Caribbean, the recent one, crap in 3D. Tron Legacy, crap in 3D. Drive Angry, crap in 3D. All the Marvel movies, crap in 3D. Like, none of these are worth seeing. But again, like Tintin in 3D was great. Hugo, great. And I think that there are films that are in 3D that are totally worth seeing. And I think that Beauty and the Beast actually falls into that category because, you know, Disney spent a long time on it. I saw that opening number in 3D, and I thought it looked great. And so again, and someone in the Facebook thing, even Transformers: Dark of the Moon, that had some great 3D when they were jumping. The 45-minute sequence at the end where they're jumping out of the buildings is amazing. You know?
Yeah, and lots of people do. Lots of people, you know, have a very different opinion than 3D than me, and I respect that opinion. I'm just saying, for me, there is no difference between good 3D and bad 3D. 3D is 3D to me. 3D is 3D, and to me, you have to do a pretty good sell job for me to put on tinted glasses, tinted film over my eyes that desaturates and kills color, darkens the picture. I know some people try to say, oh, but they adjust for this, blah, blah. That's not the way color works. And it's not the way our brain works. So for me...
Wait. I hear what you're saying. I respect where you're coming from. But I really think that you should give it a chance with certain films. And again, I really encourage you to go see Hugo in 3D while it's still in theaters, because Scorsese has crafted a love letter to cinema, and he's filmed it in 3D, and the opening shot is just breathtaking.
He has a point, John, because you haven't seen a hand-drawn 2D animated film in 3D yet.
To that point, I concede. So I have not seen a 2D.
You can't really say that you'll hate it unless you've actually experienced it. Steve and I saw those scenes at Show West for Beauty and the Beast, what, Steve, 3 years ago?
Yeah, and it was great.
And it looked amazing. And that was 3 years ago. So
I mean, I concede. I have not seen a hand-drawn, but, you know, when you've seen so much 3D, and unfortunately, you know, the three of us, we go to, I don't know how many press screenings we go to every month, but when there's a 3D film, they don't, except for Green Lantern. Yeah. Except for Green Lantern. Green Lantern was the only film that I ever went to for a press screening. When we showed up, they said, would you prefer a 2D or a 3D screening? I'm like, bless your heart. It's too bad the movie wasn't better. But I was like, bless your. But whenever you go, so you got to watch all these films in 3D. But like I said, I totally respect that some people like 3D. They embrace it. It adds to their experience. And I'm all for anything that adds to somebody's individual movie-going experience. It just doesn't happen to be me. That's all. But back to the core item of Beauty and the Beast. You know, I'm watching this film. I'm enraptured at one moment, depressed the other moment. That, number one, I mean, I'm a little bit of an amateur filmmaker myself, and I write and things and crap like that. And I'm realizing, man, you know, I'll never write anything nearly as good as this, or even some of the worst trash ever. I wouldn't write as good as. But this in particular. Yeah. And just realizing, man, I'm not going to have a more fun experience in the theater this year. I don't think for Dark Knight. I don't think for the Avengers. I don't think anything is going to match this, which is unfair because to me it's one of the all-time greats. But that was just me. Listen, we're getting late on time, so I do want to jump to this next topic because I really want to hear what you guys have to say on this. Last week, I had a very interesting opportunity to get together with the cast and the filmmakers of Hunger Games, and it was a very, very weird situation where normally when you go to these junkets, for those of you who don't know what it is Steve and George and I do, we go to these junkets and we go to a hotel and they'll put, like, you know, the 4 stars of the film in different rooms on a hotel floor. And then you wait in line and go in and talk to 1 star for like 3 minutes. And you come out and you get in line and go in to talk to another star for a couple of minutes. And you go and get in line and blah, blah, blah. I had a very weird opportunity where they actually gave us a hotel room. And, you know, George was with me, actually. They actually gave us a hotel room and one at a time sent the cast into us, which was actually pretty fun. It was a really nice way to do it. And the day before we interviewed the cast of Hunger Games, I got online onto AMC Theater's various social channels. And I asked our readers, hey, what would you like us to ask? I know Steve does this a lot too. We get on, we ask our readers, what would you like us to ask these folks? Hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of responses. And I got to tell you, like maybe 50% of the responses were people asking questions that basically fell into this category. What did you change in this? How true do you stay to the book? I heard such and such a character isn't there. How dare you remove them? So it seems like, much like Twilight, and I hate drawing comparisons.
Harry Potter.
And Harry Potter. There seems to be a extremely passionate level of expectation already building in the fan community for the Hunger Games, and it seems like it's a very, very tall order. Steve, let me ask you this. With all your stuff over at Collider.com and all the posts that you've done over the past year on the Hunger Games movie and updating your readers on the Hunger Game news, are you getting this as well? Are you hearing these types of like really high expectations, or what's the sense that you're getting from the fan community on this right now?
Sure. My answer to this is, as much as everyone wants to turn the Hunger Games into this Twilight level kind of thing, for me on Collider, when I look at the hits, the Hunger Games is here, and the Dark Knight Rises is here, and the Avengers is up here, and so on and so forth. I think that the Hunger Games fans are, they're going to have to, understand that they're making a movie, and it's based on a book, and, the movies are different than the books. But I don't get the vibe that I don't get the vibe that fans are in an uproar about anything yet. And I think that they should just be happy that Lionsgate had a lot of money to spend on the Hunger Games. I think they spent like $90 or $100 million, and they spent about $30 million on the first Twilight. So, and as both of you know, Lionsgate has a lot riding on this Hunger Games movie. And if it does not do well, it might really damage the studio.
Especially in light of the recent talks of them, them buying Summit. George, what about you? What type of stuff have you been hearing people talking about as far as it comes to Hunger Games and their expectations for it?
I'm a grown adult male. I don't know anything about the Hunger Games. So
but from the fans, have you been hearing the fans talking about it?
From the fans. Look, they have their own fan base. I don't think they're as rabid or as crazy as Harry Potter or Twilight fans. I think something like the Hunger Games is just its own little niche of fans. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about like the Hunger Games. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to go to Hot Topic and see a bunch of Hunger Games T-shirts or something like that. So, I mean, I'm sure it's big in its own right, in the book world. But as far as the movie world, we're going to have to see after the first movie comes out. I'm sure it'll do well at the theater, but I can't really speak on it because I don't really know anything about it.
I will tell you though, based on the people I've spoken to, everyone says that the first Hunger Games book, I haven't read the book yet, everyone says the first book is really good and that it is just so much better than any of the Twilight books as far as like reading it. I haven't read the Twilight books either. So, but people seem to really like the Hunger Games as far as like an actual book, like an exciting book to read. And look, I mean, I hope it's really good. That's the best I can say.
The message that I'd want to send to the fans of the Hunger Games, of which my wife is one of them. I mean, she's read all the books twice through. She loves Hunger Games. But one of the things I'd really want to communicate to the fans of the book, there seems to be this harsh demand that I'm hearing so far at this point, that don't change anything, do not take anything out, don't add anything, keep everything the same because the book is awesome. And it's true. I mean, I haven't read the book yet, but I plan on it. I've heard the book is awesome. But what there's a fundamental thing that a lot of people don't get. I'm not sure how many pages The Hunger Games is as a book. I'm thinking 300 plus pages as a book. I know like the last Harry Potter book is like 800 pages.
Yeah,
it's some tome.
Yeah.
But I think, George, maybe you can look that up for me quick on Amazon or something. The first Hunger Games book, how many pages that is.
Sure.
but let's say for argument's sake right now, it's like 300 pages. A typical screenplay, which they make movies off of, a screenplay is roughly a page a minute. So if you're talking about a 2-hour movie, and you know, I think it's still fair to say the majority of the movies aren't 2 hours long. They're usually a little bit shorter than that. But let's, for argument's sake, say a 2-hour movie. That means you got a 120-page screenplay. You've got to take a 300-page book and adapt that, change it into a 120-page thing. That's nearly 200 pages of material you have to crunch, that you have to work with. In many cases, many pages you've got to remove while keeping the essence of the story intact. And that's a challenge. But for fans of these books, like I remember The Lord of the Rings, when they found out that when the fan community of The Lord of the Rings found out there wasn't going to be a Sam Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings movies, a lot of people got really pissed off. But it's like what do you expect? It's a 500-page book. It's a 600-page book. They don't have 6.5 hours. Well, as we later learned, Peter Jackson almost made a 6-hour movie when I queued into the director's cuts. Anyway, what was you going to say?
384 pages.
Okay, so you got basically a 400-page book.
Paperback.
You got to turn that into a 120-page screenplay. Folks, fans of the Hunger Games, they're going to change stuff. But relax. Take a deep breath. Have a drink.
Didn't we have this conversation with like every book? Or haven't we had this conversation with every book that has had a fan that has it turned into a movie?
I think so. I mean, but I feel like it's one of those things that you have to keep reminding people of each new franchise. Because everybody seems to think their franchise is different. Their franchise is special. And yes, look, Hunger Games, I'm sure, is going to be a very special film franchise. But there's a reason the word is called adaptation. You have to change things. You have to adapt things. Just because something works well on a page doesn't mean it's going to work well on the screen. In the comic books, Wolverine looks wonderful in his tight yellow spandex, but I don't think Hugh Jackman would have looked quite as good in that outfit on the screen. You have to adapt. You have to change. You have to take out maybe 300 pages worth of stuff. So prepare yourselves, Hunger Games fans. It's probably going to be a little bit different from the book, but the question you need to ask is, do they adapt it and maintain the integrity of the story, maintain the spirit of the story, maintain the spirit of who the characters are, and hammer home all the major and necessary points for the narrative? If they do that, then you've got to win. But Steve, I think you and I once talked about, I think the best example of a film version of a book that stayed absolutely true to the book was, I think, the Da Vinci Code. And that made for a hell of a boring movie.
That's like the Scooby-Doo for adults. Is Dan Brown.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for Tom Hanks.
Just the dopiest writer.
But I mean, you know, they stayed insanely true to that book. And it made for in my opinion, a very boring viewing experience. Anyway, but thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for joining us on this, joining us live. If you're joining us on our Facebook chat there, thanks for everybody joining us on Twitter and fired off all the tweets. I want to thank, of course, Mr. George Roush.
Thank you for having me on, John.
I, of course, want to thank the editor-in-chief of Collider.com, Mr. Steve Weintraub, a.k.a. Frosty.
Good night, all, and I'm glad we only devoted about 10 minutes to football instead of 60.
And thank you guys once again for joining us. If you're watching us post-mortem, you're watching this not pre-recorded. Yeah, you're watching this pre-recorded on any of the sites. Don't forget you subscribe to us through our iTunes. You can subscribe to the audio-only version of this podcast if you like. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/FYC podcast. Don't forget to visit Collider.com every day. Don't forget to come over and visit us at AMC Movie News every day. But anyway, guys, that's for another time. Thanks for joining us, and until then, bye-bye.